People in the luxury district rarely looked twice at anyone who didn't sparkle. Polished sidewalks reflected glossy storefronts and elegant faces, each one wrapped in confidence and wealth. But that morning, something unusual disrupted the perfect symmetry of that world. A weary single dad pushing open the glass doors of the most exclusive luxury store in the city. His clothes were clean but faded, his shoes worn at the edges, and his tired eyes carried the weight of someone who had fought too many silent battles. Beside him stood a little girl, no older than 7, clutching his hand with a smile bright enough to rival the chandeliers inside. The moment they stepped in, conversations paused, brows lifted. A few whispers slithered between expensive scarves and designer handbags. What's he doing here? Maybe he's lost. Or trying to get free samples. The sales associates reacted even faster. One of them, with a forced smile and an air of superiority, hurried over as if protecting the store's crystal floor from muddy shoes. "Sir," she said, her voice dipped in sugar but sharpened with judgment, "this store is for customers intending to purchase." The man nodded politely. "I know. I'm here to buy something." She blinked, startled. "Right? Perhaps you prefer our outlet branch across town? Much more accessible." The little girl tugged her dad's sleeve. "Daddy, I want to see the necklace again." A few bystanders chuckled. Someone muttered, "Necklace? In this store? Good luck." Still, the dad kept his calm. "We're fine here," he said, guiding his daughter deeper inside. The saleswoman stepped in front of him, blocking the way, her patience thinning. "Sir, really, people book appointments months in advance. Everything here is expensive. Maybe I can show you something more suitable?" Before he could reply, the little girl spotted the display case and ran toward it, her eyes wide with wonder. A delicate necklace shimmered under the soft lights, a heart-shaped pendant of rose gold and tiny diamonds. She pressed her palms to the glass, mesmerized. The dad smiled, exhaustion melting into tenderness. "That's the one." The saleswoman almost laughed. "Sir, that necklace costs more than your month's." Her words collapsed into silence the moment a voice boomed from the back of the store. "Is there a problem here?" Everyone turned. The store owner, a sharp, distinguished man in a tailored charcoal suit, strode forward. He wasn't the type to make casual appearances on the floor, which meant he already recognized the dad. The owner's eyes softened. "Ethan, you came." The room froze. The sales staff stiffened. Whispers died instantly. Ethan smiled faintly, almost embarrassed. "Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should, but she's been dreaming about this necklace for months." The owner walked closer, ignoring the stunned staff. He bent down to greet the little girl. "And this must be Mia. You've grown since the last time I saw you." Mia giggled shyly. "Hi, Uncle Rowan." Gasps fluttered across the store. The saleswoman paled. The owner placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "I told you," Rowan said warmly. "Anytime you need something, anything, you come straight to me." Ethan exhaled, the tension finally breaking. "I don't want to ask for favors." "It's not a favor," Rowan replied. "It's gratitude." Customers leaned forward, curiosity turning into intrigue. Rowan signaled another employee, one who didn't look arrogant, just respectful. "Unlock that case, please." The necklace was brought out with both hands, placed delicately in front of Ethan and Mia. Mia gasped, "Daddy, it's even prettier up close." Ethan tried to stay composed, but emotion pricked the corners of his eyes. "It is, sweetheart." And then Rowan said something that made every whisper in the store die permanently. "Ethan saved my life." The owner said simply, loud enough for the room to hear. The store went still again, but this time not from judgment, this time from awe. Rowan continued, 10 years ago, before this business ever succeeded, before anyone even knew my name, I was in a horrible accident on Highway 27. A truck flipped during the storm. Strangers drove past. No one stopped. His eyes turned to Ethan, filled with quiet respect. "Accept him." He pulled me out of the wreckage with his bare hands, carried me to safety, held pressure on the wound until the ambulance arrived. Doctors told me later, he didn't just save my life. He saved my future. Ethan lowered his gaze, uncomfortable with the attention. I just did what anyone would have done. No, Rowan said gently. Not everyone would have risked their life for a stranger in the rain. The luxury store felt suddenly too small for the moment, too shiny for something so raw and human. Rowan smiled, turning to Mia. And today, I get to thank him properly. He lifted the necklace with both hands and knelt in front of the little girl. Mia, he said softly, may I? She nodded, eyes sparkling. Rowan carefully fastened the necklace around her small neck. It glowed against her skin like it belonged there all along. The entire store watched in silence, humbled. But Rowan wasn't finished. He stood up and faced Ethan. And you need to follow me. There's something else waiting for you. Ethan frowned. Rowan, you've already... Trust me, Rowan said with a knowing smile. This is long overdue. He gestured toward the private section behind velvet curtains, an area only billionaires ever entered. And as Ethan followed, whispers swirled, no longer mocking, now filled with disbelief, curiosity, guilt, and admiration. Ethan held Mia's hand as they stepped beyond the curtains, unaware that what awaited inside would change their lives far more than a necklace ever could. Ethan stepped through the velvet curtains with Mia's tiny hand wrapped in his, her new necklace shimmering softly against her chest. The private lounge beyond the curtains felt like an entirely different world. Quiet, serene, with warm lighting and a scent of cedarwood that instantly calmed the nerves. Plush leather chairs lined the room, and a long glass table displayed items so exclusive they weren't even shown on the shop floor. Rowan closed the curtains behind them, muting the murmurs of the stunned customers outside. He turned around with a look that wasn't flashy or grand. It was something deeper, a mix of sincerity and purpose. Sit, Rowan said gently. Ethan hesitated. He'd never belonged in a place like this, never imagined stepping somewhere so polished it felt unreal. But he obeyed, helping Mia into a seat before lowering himself across from Rowan. You're making this too big, Ethan muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. The necklace was already more than... This isn't about a necklace, Rowan interrupted softly. This is about a promise. Ethan frowned. A promise? Rowan leaned back. The night you saved me, I wasn't just trapped in that wreck. My business was failing. I was drowning in debt. I thought my life was ending in more ways than one. But you saved me, with nothing to gain, no reason except it was the right thing to do. Mia swung her legs under the chair, listening quietly, sensing the weight of the moment. Rowan continued, I told myself that if I ever made it, if my life ever turned around, I'd find a man who pulled me from death's door and repay him in a way he'd never expect. Ethan shook his head. You don't owe me anything. I didn't save you for... I know, Rowan said. That's exactly why I owe you everything. He stood and walked to a small safe built into the wall. After pressing his thumb to the scanner, the door clicked open. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Rowan pulled out a thick folder bound in leather. He placed it on the table and slid it toward Ethan. What is this? Ethan asked, hesitating before opening it. Your new life, Rowan replied. Ethan blinked and slowly opened the folder. Inside were documents, legal papers, contracts, financial statements, and a crisp, embossed certificate bearing Ethan's name. Mia leaned closer, curious. Daddy, Rowan rested one hand on Ethan's shoulder. I'm giving you a partnership in my company. Not charity, not a gift, a partnership, 10% equity. You'll earn dividends every quarter. You'll have a steady income, a future for you and your daughter, and a seat at the table as the company grows. Ethan stared, stunned. The words blurred on the pages. Rowan, I can't accept this. Yes, you can, Rowan insisted, because you gave me a chance to live. Now I'm giving you a chance to breathe. Ethan's throat tightened. I'm just a mechanic. I don't know anything about luxury brands or business strategy. That's what advisors are for, Rowan replied with a smile. Besides, loyalty, courage, and decency matter more to me than any degree. People with those qualities are rare. He crouched beside Mia, his voice softening. And she deserves a life where her father isn't breaking his back to survive. Mia looked at the papers, then at her dad, unsure whether to smile or worry. Ethan wiped his eyes, overwhelmed. He hadn't cried in years, but the dam cracked now, quietly, vulnerably. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Rowan replied. Just don't refuse. Ethan reached out, fingertips brushing the papers. I've been struggling since her mother passed. I promised I'd give her the world, but you will, Rowan said firmly, starting today. A long silence settled between them. Not tense, just heavy with meaning. After a moment, Mia reached out and touched her father's hand. Daddy, can we take it? Please? You work so hard. I want you to rest sometimes. That simple, honest plea shattered the last piece of hesitation inside him. Ethan exhaled shakily and nodded. Okay, I'll accept it. Rowan's smile spread slowly, warmly. Good. Then welcome to the company. He extended his hand. Ethan took it, still breathless. And that's not all, Rowan added. Ethan stared at him. What do you mean, not all? There's someone here who wants to see you. Before Ethan could respond, a soft knock sounded on the private door. Rowan opened it. A woman stepped inside, graceful, confident, wearing a tailored blazer and a look of gentle recognition. Her eyes met Ethan's and he froze. Claire, Ethan whispered. She smiled softly. Hi, Ethan. Mia's mouth dropped open. Daddy, you know her? Ethan nodded slowly, still trying to process the moment. Yeah, she's a lawyer who helped me during the custody case. Claire stepped forward. More than that, I'm the one who tracked you down for Rowan. I recognized your name when I started handling his legal work. Rowan folded his arms with a satisfied grin. Told you I'd find a man who saved me. Ethan's heart pounded. I thought you moved to another city. After the hearing, I never saw you again. I did move, Claire said. But when I saw your name again, I couldn't ignore it. You deserved better than the life you were living. And I wanted to see you again. Mia smiled shyly at Claire, sensing something new and warm between the adults. Ethan swallowed, emotions tangled, gratitude, disbelief, something gentler he didn't dare name yet. This is a lot. I don't know how to handle all this. Claire smiled, stepping closer. Then, don't handle it alone. Rowan looked between them with a playful smirk. Why don't we all sit and talk? After today, everything in your life is about to change. Ethan sat back down slowly, Mia climbing into his lap, her new necklace glittering like a promise. Claire took the seat beside him, her presence steady and reassuring. Ethan looked around the room, the documents, the people, the possibilities, and for the first time in years, he felt something he had nearly forgotten, hope. And just as he began to breathe again, Rowan spoke once more. There's one more thing you need to see, Ethan. Something outside this room. He opened another door, leading to a hallway glowing with soft golden lights. Ethan stood, holding Mia's hand, Claire close behind. He didn't know what waited for him at the end of that hallway, but he felt in his bones that his entire life was about to shift again in a way he never saw coming. Ethan stepped into the softly glowing hallway, the golden lights casting gentle patterns across the polished floor. Mia skipped beside him, excitement bubbling through her tiny frame, while Claire walked just a step behind. Close enough for comfort, far enough to respect the storm of emotions swirling inside him. Rowan led the way, his footsteps steady and purposeful, as though every moment was part of a carefully woven plan. Ethan glanced at him. Rowan, what else could there possibly be? Rowan chuckled lightly. You'll see. Some gifts are too big to fit in a store. Mia gasped. Is a giant teddy bear? Rowan winked at her. Bigger. Claire laughed softly, her voice warm. I think we're all about to be surprised. The hallway opened to a private elevator. The door slid shut behind them with a soft chime. Rowan pressed a button for the rooftop level. Ethan felt his stomach twist, not from fear, but from bracing himself. Life had never given him good surprises before. Only hardships, hard lessons, and harder nights. Claire sensed the tension in his posture. She touched his arm lightly. Hey, you're allowed to let good things happen to you. He exhaled slowly. It just doesn't feel real. It's real, she said, and long overdue. The elevator doors opened with a gentle hiss. Cool air rushed in. The rooftop was wide and open, surrounded by glass railings and overlooking the entire city. The skyline stretched endlessly, glittering like a jeweled ocean. But Ethan barely took in a view, because right in the center of the rooftop was a car. Not just any car. A sleek, midnight black SUV with tinted windows and polished chrome accents. The kind of vehicle designed for safety, comfort, and dignity. The kind of car Ethan had always admired from afar, but never dreamed of owning. Mia's jaw dropped. "Daddy, look, it's so shiny." Ethan stared, unable to move. "Rowan, what is this?" Rowan stepped beside him. "You need a reliable vehicle. One that can get you to work, take Mia to school, handle emergencies, and frankly, one that doesn't break down every other month." Ethan swallowed. "But my old truck." "Your old truck barely made it here," Rowan said gently. "This is not a gift. This is an investment in the man who once invested his own safety to save mine." Ethan shook his head slowly, overwhelmed. "I can't take this." Claire stepped in front of him, her gaze locked with his. "Ethan, listen to me. This isn't charity. This is justice catching up to you. You spent years giving, sacrificing, fighting battles alone. It's okay to let the world give something back." He looked at Mia, who was already pressed against the SUV door, peeking inside through the window. "Daddy, it has screens and seats, and cup holders, and there's so much room." Rowan handed Ethan a small box. "Open it." His fingers trembled slightly as he lifted the lid. Inside were keys, a key fob with the luxury brand's emblem engraved in sleek silver. But under the keys was something else. A written document. Ethan frowned and pulled it out. Claire stepped closer to peek over his arm. Her eyebrows rose. "Rowan, this is necessary," Rowan said. Ethan read, confused. It wasn't just the ownership paperwork for the SUV. It was also a contract offering him a full-time executive logistics position in Rowan's company, with a salary far beyond anything he had ever earned, full health coverage for him and Mia, housing assistance, and education funding for Mia's future. His breath caught. "Rowan, this is too much." "No," Rowan said firmly. "This is the bare minimum. You earned every ounce of this the night you saved me. And I'm simply delivering on a promise I made to myself." Ethan's throat tightened. "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," Rowan replied. "Just take the chance you deserve for years." Claire touched Ethan's hand softly. "And we'll help you learn everything you need to know for the job. You're not alone in this." Mia ran back to Ethan, her necklace dancing in the sunlight. "Daddy, can we drive it? Can we ride in it today?" He knelt to meet her eye level. "Sweetheart, I think this car is ours." She squealed and hugged him so tightly he had to close his eyes just to keep the tears from falling. For once, the weight he carried felt lighter. Not gone, but shared. Rowan cleared his throat. "There's still more to discuss. But first, why don't we take a drive? The car is filled with gas and ready to go." Ethan hesitated. "Are you coming with us?" Rowan shook his head. "No, this ride is for your family. Claire will join you. I'll meet you at the warehouse later. There's one last thing you need to see." "Another surprise?" Claire asked suspiciously. Rowan smiled. "Oh, this one even I've been excited about." Ethan opened the driver's door. The interior smelled of new leather and possibility. He set me in the back seat, buckled her in, then got behind the wheel. Claire took the seat beside him, folding her hands in her lap with a soft smile. "This suits you," she said. He laughed nervously. "I feel like I shouldn't even touch the steering wheel." "Touch it," she teased gently. "It's yours." He gripped the wheel, the smooth leather fitting perfectly into his palms. Mia giggled. "Drive, Daddy." He turned the engine on. It purred, quiet, powerful, and confident, as the rooftop gate slid open and the SUV descended the ramp. Ethan caught a glimpse of Rowan standing behind the glass railing, hands in his pockets, watching with a look that carried both pride and relief. Claire glanced at Ethan as they merged into traffic. "What do you think the final surprise is?" Ethan shook his head slowly. At this point, it could be anything. Mia kicked her feet in the back seat. I hope it's a puppy. Claire laughed. That would be nice. But Ethan sensed something deeper. Something that would change not just their day, but their entire future. Rowan wasn't a man of small gestures. If he said something was life-changing, it was as they drove toward the warehouse district. Ethan's nerves and excitement mingled into a feeling he hadn't felt since before life became a daily struggle. Anticipation. Whatever awaited them was big. He could feel it. And when they finally reached the warehouse, Claire squeezed his hand gently as he parked. "Ready?" she asked. Ethan swallowed. Not even close. But he stepped out anyway, Mia's hand in his, as they approached the huge sliding doors. The massive warehouse doors stood towering before them, their metal surface reflecting the sunlight in soft, shifting gleams. Ethan felt the weight of the moment settle in his chest. The place looked less like an industrial building and more like a vault. Quiet, guarded, intentional. Mia clutched his hand tightly, her eyes darting with wonder at the sheer size of it. Claire walked beside him with a calm but curious expression, her heels clicking softly against the concrete as Rowan approached them from inside. "Welcome," Rowan said, pushing the heavy door wider. "Come in." The interior was vast, echoing with each step they took. Rows of neatly packed crates lined the walls, labeled meticulously, and platforms displayed prototypes and exclusive luxury items Ethan had only seen in magazines. Yet Rowan led them straight past all of it toward a large partitioned section sealed off by glass panels. "What is this place?" Ethan asked, all creeping into his voice. Rowan grinned. "This is where everything began. My first warehouse. My first inventory. My first night sleeping on the floor, because I didn't have an apartment yet. And also," he paused, turned to face Ethan fully, "this is where I've been building something for you." Ethan blinked. "For me?" "Rowan, what more could you possibly?" Rowan lifted a hand gently. "Ethan, you saved me. And no matter how much I give, it will never truly match that. But I can try." He pressed his palm to a scanner. The glass panels slid open with a soft hiss. Inside the sealed section was a newly renovated workspace. Brand new tools lined the walls, premium-grade mechanical equipment, diagnostic machines, toolboxes stacked neatly and gleaming. The entire area smelled faintly of steel and promise. But that wasn't what froze Ethan in his tracks. At the very center of the workspace sat a sign, E&M Auto Studio, coming soon. Ethan's breath vanished. Mia read the sign aloud slowly. "E&M, that's us, Daddy." Claire covered her mouth, stunned. "Rowan, you didn't." "I did," Rowan said. "This is yours. A fully furnished auto workshop. You can run it while working with us. Part of your partnership agreement includes complete ownership of the space." Ethan's legs nearly buckled. "Rowan, I can't accept an entire shop. This is beyond." "It's not just a shop," Rowan said. "It's your dream. You told me once, right after the accident, that you always wanted your own garage, but life never gave you the chance. You said you wanted a place where people could come and trust the work, a place where you could teach Mia how engines work when she grew older." Ethan's eyes filled. He remembered that night. He'd been holding pressure on Rowan's wound, shivering under the downpour. Talk and keep Rowan awake. He hadn't known his words lodged that deeply. "I never forgot," Rowan continued. "So when Claire found you, I started preparing this. Took months. Only finished last week." Ethan stepped inside the studio, his fingertips brushing across the smooth metal of the tools. Everything was pristine, carefully chosen, matched to his skill set. It was overwhelming. It was perfect. Mia ran to a small corner desk with pink drawers and a child-sized swivel chair. "Daddy, is this for me?" Ethan nodded weakly. "Looks like it, sweetheart." "She can sit here after school," Rowan said. "Draw, do homework, or watch you work." Claire placed a gentle hand on Ethan's back. "This is incredible." Rowan walked to a second door at the far end. "There's one more part." Ethan let out a shaky laugh. "Rowan, if you say that again, I might pass out." But he followed him anyway. They stepped through the second door, and Ethan felt time stop. A two-bedroom apartment, right inside the warehouse. Fully furnished, warm, modern, with soft lighting, wooden floors, and big windows overlooking the city. A small kitchen stocked with brand new appliances. A living space with a plush sofa. 2 bedrooms. One clearly designed for Mia, painted in soft pastels with fairy lights around the ceiling. The other with a large bed, dresser, and enough space for Ethan to breathe. He covered his mouth with one trembling hand. Rowan, I don't know what to say, he whispered. You don't have to, Rowan replied gently. This is for you until you decide what comes next. No rent, no pressure, just a fresh start. Mia ran into her room, twirling. Daddy, look at my bed. It has stars. Claire walked into the living room slowly, her eyes softening. This feels like a home. Ethan sank onto the edge of the couch, burying his face in his hands for a moment. Everything hit him at once. The years of hardship, the nights skipping meals so Mia could eat, the quiet tears, the weight of responsibilities he carried alone. And now, all at once, life had given him a doorway into a future he never dared imagine. Rowan sat beside him. Ethan, you've been surviving for too long. I want you to start living. Ethan looked up, eyes misty. Why me? Because you chose humanity when you had nothing, Rowan said. That kind of man deserves everything. Ethan exhaled deeply, shaking from the inside out. Claire knelt in front of him, taking his hands in hers. You're allowed to accept happiness, she whispered. You're allowed to let people help. He squeezed her hands gently, grounding himself. Mia appeared next to him, climbing into his lap. Daddy, are we going to live here now? Can we really stay? Ethan wrapped his arms around her. Yes, baby. We can stay. She hugged him tightly, her new necklace glimmering like a tiny star. Rowan clasped Ethan's shoulder. And whenever you're ready, there's a grand opening plan for the shop. Your name goes up on the sign as soon as you say the word. Ethan turned toward the window, the sunlight painting the room in gold. And for the first time in years, his future wasn't a distant dream. It was right in front of him. But there was more. Something unfolding between him and Claire. Something Rowan had subtly encouraged. Claire sat beside him now, her hand resting gently on his arm. Ethan, she said softly, there's something I need to tell you too. He turned to her, heartbeat hitching. She opened her mouth to speak, when suddenly, the warehouse entrance slammed open, echoing sharply through the space. Ethan stood abruptly. Rowan spun around. Claire tensed. Mia clung to Ethan's sleeve. Someone was coming inside. The footsteps echoed before the figure appeared. Slow, firm, filled with a tension that wrapped around the warehouse air like an electric current. Ethan instinctively stepped forward, placing Mia behind him. Claire rose too, her breath catching in her throat, while Rowan narrowed his eyes, ready for anything. Then the shadow stepped into the light. An older man, silver hair smoothed back, dressed in an impeccably tailored coat, eyes sharp and studying as if he were cataloging the entire room in one glance. Ethan didn't recognize him, yet a strange familiarity tugged at the edges of his memory. Rowan exhaled. I didn't expect you this early. The man's gaze landed on Ethan, unblinking, intense. So this is him. Ethan stiffened. Who are you? The stranger stepped closer, not with hostility, but with the weight of someone carrying a truth he'd held far too long. My name is Edward Hale, he said quietly, and Ethan, I am your father. Silence shattered the room. Ethan's breath left him in a single, stunned exhale. No, my father died before I was born. Edward shook his head slowly. I never died. I left because I was a coward. I was young, selfish, overwhelmed. I spent half my life regretting it, and the other half searching for you. Ethan felt the world tilt. Mia's hand tightened around his, grounding him through the storm. Claire whispered, Ethan. Edward continued, emotion trembling at the edges. I learned your name just weeks ago. I learned about your struggles, your losses, your daughter, your courage. And I learned what you did for Rowan. He swallowed, eyes glossy. I didn't come here to ask for forgiveness. I came to give you what I should have given you decades ago. Ethan's voice broke. And what's that? Edward's eyes softened. A father, And a future. He reached into his coat and pulled out a single envelope, wore at the edges, as if he'd held it too tightly on the way here. He offered it with both hands. Ethan hesitated, but took it. Inside were documents, genealogy confirmations, handwritten letters dated back years, and ownership papers to a countryside ranch, fully paid, worth more than Ethan could ever imagine. I built that ranch with my bare hands, Edward said. Every fence, every stable. I once dreamed of raising my son there. Life didn't give me that chance. But now, I want you to have it. No conditions. No expectations. Just a piece of me. Something real. Something permanent. Ethan's chest tightened. So many years believing he had no roots, no legacy, no origin except struggle. And now a man stood before him, offering not redemption, but reconciliation. I don't know what to say, Ethan whispered. You don't owe me words, Edward replied. All I ask is a chance to know you, to meet my granddaughter, to earn, not demand, a place in your life. Mia peeked out from behind Ethan's arm. Grandpa! Edward's face crumpled, and for a split second, every regret in his life flashed across his eyes. He nodded with a trembling smile. Yes, sweetheart, if you'll have me. Mia smiled shyly. I think Daddy decided that. Ethan laughed, a broken, healing sound, because somehow his daughter always knew exactly what to say. He looked at Edward, really looked at him. His face didn't hold the sharpness of abandonment he'd always imagined. It held regret, age, and hope. Maybe, Ethan said slowly, we can start with dinner. Edward let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for years. I'd like that. More than you know. Rowan stepped forward, clapping a hand on Ethan's back. Looks like today's full of miracles. Claire smiled softly. Seems like the universe finally decided to repay everything you've endured. Ethan turned toward her, and in her eyes he saw not pity, but pride, genuine, warm, and unwavering. You said earlier, he murmured, that you had something to tell me. Claire's cheeks flushed. I do. She took a breath. I didn't help Rowan find you just because it was legal work. I did it because I never stopped thinking about you, about the kind of man you are, and I want to be part of your life. If you'd let me. He stared at her, heart stumbling. Claire, But she placed a finger gently on his hand. You don't need to say anything right now. Just know, I'm here, and I want to stay. Ethan felt a warm bloom inside him, stronger than surprise, stronger than fear. It was the warmth of someone who had carried him through his lowest moments, and wanted to walk with him into the future. Mia tugged Claire's hand. Does that mean you'll stay for dinner too? Claire laughed. Only if your dad doesn't mind. Ethan shook his head slowly. No, I don't mind. Rowan stepped in front of them, his voice filled with satisfaction. Well then, I'd say this calls for a celebration. Tonight, the four of us, 5, he corrected, nodding toward Edward, are going to sit down for a meal. As family. As partners. As people who found each other in ways no one could have predicted. Ethan looked around the warehouse. The shop he'd dreamed of, the apartment he'd never hoped for, the car, the partnership, the people. His daughter laughed, skipping around the room with joy that echoed like music. For the first time in his life, Ethan's world wasn't built on survival. It was built on possibility. He stood taller, shoulders lighter. Yeah, he said softly. Let's celebrate. They walked out together, Rowan locking the door behind them, Claire holding Mia's hand, Edward trailing behind with humble hope, while Ethan led the way. A poor single dad had entered a luxury store with whispers and laughter trailing him. But he walked out of this warehouse with something far greater than money. He walked out with a family, a future, a legacy, and a life that finally, beautifully belonged to him.